Hello, this is Daniel Ritchie, the developer of Howler Digital Painter. But that's not what I'm going to be talking about today. Now that I've plugged that, I'm going to move on to my main subject, which is Lightwave. A few users on the Lightwave users group have asked me to demonstrate the old and good rabbit ear trick, which is a sort of a free dynamic you get, as I will demonstrate here, in a bone chain. It's good for rabbit ears, dinosaur tails, that sort of thing. It just requires a little bit of setup. We're not using any fancy plugins or anything. This would be great if you build a rabbit or a dinosaur or a character with a tail, a dog's tail, a werewolf, whatever, and you don't want to animate that tail. You can just animate the character, and this will automatically handle the dynamics on that tail or that ear, a donkey's ear, I don't know what, but or a dangling rope, or I used this one time on a dinosaur that was eating some seaweed. It was dangling out of his mouth. It worked beautifully. Used it on a Disney character, a rabbit from Winnie the Pooh, for his ears, and it worked beautifully also. So this is a very simple trick. It does require a little bit of setup. It's an older trick, so we have to use the older style bones. Bones have changed a lot in Lightwave. There's some newer styles. There's the joint style, which is new, and there's some new goals in IK, such as the go-to goal objective. But these are things we're gonna bypass for now. They can probably be used with a slightly different setup. That's an exercise for the listener to figure out for himself or herself. I'm going to go ahead and start over again and try to get this right. There are a few pratfalls. There are a lot of settings in Lightwave, a lot more than there used to be. It's a fabulous product, very complex, very deep. It's been used in production for a lot of years. I myself worked on in Lightwave since before Jurassic Park came out. I was working in Lightwave, so I worked on it through let's see, a couple of projects, a couple of video games, the Atari Jaguar. Worked on Foundation Imaging for Mystic Knights of Tir-na-Nog, one of my favorite programs that I worked on. Worked on the Starship Troopers, the Roughnecks Chronicles series. One episode of Voyager I did in my career. I did at least get to blow up one spaceship. And let's see, I worked on Dan Dare, Pilot of the Future, Max Steel. That was the original Max Steel, not the remake that they're doing now. And a few other things, the Borg invasion. And so I've been using Lightwave for quite a while. A little rusty in the rigging right now. That sounds like a pirate thing. Yarr. But I'm going to go ahead and start with a new scene. Let's see if I can hit the right button. Clear scene. Clear. I don't know why it resets your display when you do that, but go back to what I had. It's mostly working over here. And we're just going to create a null object. I don't have a rabbit object to work with, sorry, or a dinosaur at the moment, so I'm just going to use a null object. Hit Control N for null object. Call it. Should have renamed it there. That's a nice feature they added. You can add when you add a null object, you can edit some additional properties to them that didn't used to be there. Anyways, so I will rename that my rabbit head, and I will start drawing some child bones onto that. I'm going to work on the, I guess, the right side in that viewport. Bones, draw child bones. A lot of people don't work with the draw bones. They'd rather manually add them, but I'm just going to get this done for now. I'm going to add 4 bones and a handle on the end that will be used for parenting our final null object. Now that little one there won't have a lot of purpose other than to hold that one object. Alright, so I'm going to, now that I've set that up, I'm going to go add 1, 2, 3, 4 null objects, which will be our goal objects. Control N. Like I said, there's a nice edit button where you can add some other things. This is really cool. You can add custom shapes like balls and pyramids and that kind of stuff. Not going to do that now. I'm just going to leave them as null objects. You might even make them invisible after you get it set up because you don't want to deal with these again. I'll just call it null. I'll move it up here, and if you press Alt on the keyboard, it will pop directly to whatever is nearest to, as you see there. I'm going to go ahead and pop it right there. I'm going to grab the second one. Let's see, I'm going to make a second one rather. Control N. Do the same thing 3 more times. Hold Alt. Control N. Hold Alt. Oops. Alt up there. And one last time. Now I have 4 goal objects. And Alt it. There we go. I'm on auto key. That keyframes everything. Now that we're all set up, I'm going to turn off the auto key because it can really mess things up for us. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and just get off that 0 keyframe right there altogether in case we accidentally create a keyframe. We don't want to mess this up. Alright, so I'm going to go into these bones and set up their IK properties. First thing, select the first 4 bones, hit M on the keyboard. Make sure you're on rotation under controllers and limits. Don't make sure you're not on position. This will really mess things up. Okay, go to rotation and turn on IK for the heading and pitch controllers. You might want to use just 1 axis, but I'm going to use at least 2. You might even use 3 if you want some bank in there. You get these nice little twisting things, but it might be too much as well. Alright, IK is on for all those bones that we've selected. Now I'm going to start with this first bone and select the goal object, which will be that first null object. So I'll go to IK and modifiers under the motion options. That's M on the keyboard. Goal, and make it the first null object. That is now pointing to that. Well, no, it's not pointing. It's on goal to goal as an objective. We want to point at goal. So select objective, point at goal. It will now point at that goal object. We'll do the same thing for each additional bone. Make it point at goal. This is a fair amount of setup, but once it's done, you'll never have to think about it again. At least we have that as some consolation. Make it point at goal. And the last bone, select the last null object, make it point at goal. Alright, so we are now set up with everything except for our parenting of the null objects to the bones. So I'm going to select the first, Shift O on the keyboard to select an object. To get out of that bone selection mode, select the first null 1. You see it highlighted in yellow there. I'm going to go to, I'm still in the motion options on for that object. That's M on the keyboard for motion options. I'm going to go to add modifier under IK and modifiers. I'm going to select follower. That's a sort of a parenting plugin. As you see, there's a lot of parameters, but we're only going to concern ourselves with the top few here. There's a item to follow. We want to follow this bone, the second bone, because that's right where we put that thing. I'm going to select the second bone, and that will be parented right to that little joint right there where that second bone starts. We also want world coordinates on. That's important, and we want after IK turned off, because we want it to be before IK. So we should now be, one more thing we have to add is a path delay. This is a time offset, and we're going to use 0.1. It would be better if it was in frames for me, so we'll just have to, it's in seconds, so we'll just have to make do 0.1 seconds. Continue, and we're going to do the same thing for null 2 through 4. Select follower, turn off after IK, turn on world coordinates, select the third bone for this case, that's right there, and give it a 0.2. Let's see, I think I did 0.1, or did I do 0.2 for the first one? I forget. Let me click OK, continue. I'll just take a quick look. I meant to put 0.1. Yes. Alright, I'm going to select the third null object, which is right there. I'm going to do the same thing just again. Follower. World coordinates on. After IK off. Following the 1, 2, 3, fourth bone. 0.4. Don't just linearly do this 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4. Do it 0.1, 0.2, 0.4, 0.8 to get it right. Alright, so 0.4. Make sure after IK is off. Click continue. That should still be right there. You'll see it pop into the orientation of the bone probably. So that's one way you know it worked. And we'll do that for the last one. This will be parented to this tiny little handle bone. That's why we put that little handle bone at the end. Alright, so we're going to go to add follower. Select the final bone in the chain. World coordinates, turn off after IK, and 0.8 I believe is what I said, right? Okay. Continue. And if we've done all right, we should now be set up with our rabbit trick, never having to worry about it again. I'm going to go to a frame somewhere in the future. Select my rabbit head object. We should now be able to keyframe this. I'm going to turn that auto keyframing back on. I should be able to move this. Let's see. Missed something there. Let's see. There we go. And you can see as I move it, it's already doing its dynamics. That 0.8 might be a little too strong. Might want to make it a 0.7 or something on that last. You can see it's dragging just a little too much. That might be good too. Let's see, I'll move it down here. I might even rotate it a little bit. Let's see, click Y on the keyboard to rotate. Alright, so as you can see, we're getting this free dynamic whipping whoosh of this bone chain. And you might go to the, at this point, go to the scene editor. Let's see, where's the scene editor? Go to the scene editor and turn off the visibility of the bones. Let's see, I forget how exactly you do that. Not the bones, but rather the null objects. I wonder if you can do that. Maybe not. Okay. Well, you can lock them anyway so they don't get mixed up or messed up. I don't think you can turn off their visibility. Let's see. Oh, sure you can. You can hide them. Alright. Hidden. Hidden. And hidden. So they're now locked and hidden. So you never have to worry about them again. You don't even have to know they're there to get this dynamic effect on your bone. As you see, we animate that. It is whipping around. It is doing all kinds of dynamic things. Like I said, great for dinosaur tails and rabbit ears. Hope this demonstration has been clear. I did it 3 times for practice before I started to get it right. But basically the technique is parenting null objects with a time offset onto a chain of bones and then using those null objects as goal objects. So it's sort of almost a recursive sort of sounding thing, but it works. It works beautifully in most cases. It's free dynamic, doesn't take a lot of processor power. You don't have to process, you don't have to run a simulation or anything. It's just there when you're animating your character, and it's a beautiful trick. Hope you enjoy it. Talk about Howler for just one more second again. Let's see. I am the developer Howler, which is a two-dimensional paint and drawing program, and it's also a animation program. And by animation, I mean both traditional and video. We have video processing, that sort of thing. We have some 3D capabilities such as rendering height maps, ray tracing of them. We're adding some cloud generation and some other things like that, particle systems. Lots of wonderful capabilities. And I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Thanks for listening. And this is Dan Ritchie signing off. Thank you.